Alright everyone, we have a fairly concerning escalation in the Middle East right now, which is that Israel is now conducting raids in the West Bank. Originally it was mainly limited to operations in Gaza. Of course they've overrun the Gaza Strip. The West Bank is a bit larger, although, Israel basically controls most of it at this point through the settlement system. Also, you've got attacks from Hezbollah, you've had saber rattling from Iran, you've had all sorts of crazy shit going on within the region. You've got the violation of the Camp David Accords with regards to the southern border with Egypt and so on and so on forth. Link in the description, archived of course though. Now Israel is raiding the West Bank, and unfortunately a bunch of people have been killed. If you do want to rout Hamas, you will have to raid the West Bank. The problem is that this comes even more perilously close than what we've already seen to a regional conflict. Again, I am not Team Palestine or Team Israel. I don't have any, horse in the race, so to speak. I'm America first, so I don't really care if these people want to kill each other. I just think, I don't want civilians to die, especially like kids and shit. I think that it's unfortunate, but it is an escalation. And what it risks is pissing off Hezbollah enough so that they launch an all-out assault, which Israel would not be able to simply rely on Iron Dome to defend itself under. And if Hezbollah really gets into it with Israel, because they are partially controlled by the Iranians, then it risks them getting involved. Meanwhile, you've got an attempt between the Iranian government and the Saudis to rapproch, but then you have other problems. Because the Iranians are also sort of friends with the Houthis, who are also attacking U.S. and other international vessels and doing piracy and crazy shit like that. But then they're also at war with Saudi Arabia, as well as with the, technical Yemeni government that half doesn't exist at this point. So diplomatic relations within the region could devolve very, very quickly. I don't think people understand the severity of such a situation. If all hell breaks loose, you're in a war in which you might have 8 or 9 different combatants fighting one another, most of which have fairly sophisticated technology. We're in an era now where drones are increasingly being used. Iran is probably #1 in the world for producing them at this point. They're pumping out drones. You wouldn't believe the kind of squadrons that they could fly. They're also getting into hacking now as well. They could do some real damage. Israel has battlefield nukes. They could really do some damage. Egypt could end up getting involved. Egypt controls the Suez Canal, one of the main trading networks in the entire world, and they have an extraordinarily large military force. Turkey could get involved. They're a NATO member, and the Turks also station U.S. nuclear systems, while also having one of the top 10 militaries in the world, at least by manpower and then overall firepower. They get a lot of tanks and artillery and shit. Iran is linked to Russia. The Russians could get involved. Syria is an ally of the Iranians. Assad could get involved. Lebanon, the government there, partnered with the U.S., tries to contain Hezbollah, could get involved in a street-to-street battle with them in their own country. Or they could say, fuck the West and join with them, or something like that. The Jordanians have already spoken out against what's going on. The King of Jordan wrote an op-ed like a month after the operation began in which he condemned it. You're looking at a major flashpoint in which the entire former Byzantine Empire could devolve into civil war, effectively. Tens of millions of people could end up dead. You could end up with a nuclear conflict. You're close to it right now already. So while it's justified for Israel to fight Hamas at this point, most of the people that die won't be Hamas. They'll be civilians caught in the crossfire. When you open fire on a street, that stray bullet that hit the 12-year-old in the head is probably inevitable. Yes, you killed the Hamas member. You also killed the 12-year-old and this old woman. You get a twofer. And I'm sure that the IDF at this point is enraged enough that they don't really care. But you got to understand that there's an international community that you trade with. People buy your shit. There are imports and exports and all these other things going on. You've got all of Europe condemning what's going on, pretty much all of Europe at least. Pretty much everyone in the world except for the United States at this point is condemning what's going on. But now you're going into a new zone and conducting raids. Now, if the raid is successful, nobody's going to talk about it in the news. This is what Israel doesn't really seem to understand the nuance here. If you conduct a raid and successfully bag and tag 3 or 4 Hamas members, that's not going to enter the international press. But if you conduct a raid and it fails because a firefight breaks out in a crowded area and you kill 20 civilians, that will be in the international news. Netanyahu does not fully appear to understand this situation for optical purposes. He doesn't seem to fully understand it. And the opposition in Israel, of course, is livid at him for what's happening right now. Now, nobody supports Hamas other than Hamas members. Even most Palestinians probably fucking hate them for what's going on at this point. But that doesn't mean that Israel doesn't have poor optics in what it's doing right now. It's getting out of control. My worry is not about the war that's currently going on, it's about the war that could erupt. The United States wouldn't help but be involved, and we might end up with a fucking Harris administration that would be all too happy to enjoin a major regional war. What are we going to do? Are we going to do Iraq 2.0? Oh, it would be beyond that. We'd be occupying 3 or 4 countries at a time. And then the nukes probably start flying, and then my leaks are radioactive. At least I'll be able to harvest them in the dark. This is what I worry about. There's a reason why I have a stack of potassium iodide pills in the bedroom. There is always that risk. I suggest that people be prepared for that potential eventuality. My hope is that you have pulled punches, limited incursions, that sanity prevails. Hopefully diplomacy breaks out. My hope is that Donald Trump is reelected. He can go in there and he can smooth things over. That's my hope. But it's not necessarily going to happen. Good chance of it? Yes. But let's say that you're playing Russian roulette. Okay, with a 6-shot revolver. There's only a 1 in 6 chance that you're about to blow your head off. Or, you know, if you're wise, maybe you're aiming it at your finger or something and you're not playing for death. But there is that 1 in 6 chance. While I like the odds for a Trump presidency and for sanity and diplomacy to prevail, I'm going to bank on it not happening for preventative purposes. And so, yeah, I'm going to stack some more precious metals. I'm going to stack some more potassium iodide. I'm going to buy more ammunition and some seeds and shit like that and prepare for a real cold winter, which Biden warned of years ago. Because things are beginning to get out of hand over there in the Middle East, ultimately. All you need is the wrong person to get shot at the wrong time to have a situation where you have mass protests and a massacre or something like that, and then you end up with a regional war. This could happen. I hope it doesn't. I'm not a fan of war. I'm not a fan of anyone suffering. I'm not a fan of civilian casualties, but it is possible. The fact that we're even talking about the possibility of such an escalatory situation should trouble us. And so we need sane diplomacy from the West, number 1, and we need to press upon these people, number 2, say, hey, calm the fuck down, okay? You know, I know that you want to destroy all of Hamas, but it's not logistically possible. You need to show a little bit more restraint. That's about all. Peace out.